Hey guys, welcome back to my next book preview video. This week we have Anatomy for Sculptors, Understanding the Human Figure by Uldis Zarins. So it's a glossy cover is this one because I've got the hardback version. Quick look at the front and back there. And I'm really excited about this one. This is actually part of a series of 3, so let me grab the others. So within this Anatomy for Sculptors book, we also have Form of the Head and Neck and also Anatomy of Facial Expressions. This one in particular, I'm actually really excited to get into and study from. But for this video, let's start with the Anatomy for Sculptors book. So as usual, I'm going to start on the contents page so that you guys can actually pause the video if you want to take a look at this and read through it properly. Hopefully you can see that. It's always tricky with the lighting, so I have to hold it at a little bit of an angle. But a more basic breakdown is shown here. So this book is broken down into the figure and torso, the head and neck, and upper limbs and lower limbs. So of course this is an anatomy book, so there is going to be some anatomical nudity. I'm just going to skip through some random pages, but there's your warning. And I wanted to start by saying, although this book is known as Anatomy for Sculptors, it definitely is not just for sculptors. It definitely does include all other artists. So I'm more of an illustrator. Well, I have no sculpting experience. And I think this book is absolutely fascinating. I actually found this because on Instagram, it came up with a little video advert for this product, and it's not something I'd seen before. And I thought it looked really interesting. The tips it showed you in the video were really cool, as you'll see throughout this book. But then I noticed it was called Anatomy for Sculptors, so I was a little bit worried about getting it. And I left a comment on the advert, or on the promoted post on Instagram, whatever you want to call it. Asking people who had the book whether they would advise it for illustrators or whether any of them were, artists of any kind other than sculptors and whether it was still useful. And I got an overwhelming amount of comments actually from people that had bought these books saying yes, they were absolutely incredible, they were their favourite books, they were fantastic for any kind of artist, and not many of them were even sculptors. So that gave me quite a lot of confidence and honestly a lot of excitement about getting these books. So here I am showing this one on camera, and I think a lot of you guys will love this one too, because I have had comments on my other videos where some of you guys have been asking for different anatomy book previews, so I think this is a really good one to show. So there are a lot of anatomy books out there, so what makes this one a little bit different, and this one's like made up fully of I want to say it's almost like tips and tricks, but like little learning tips. So it's not a text-heavy book like, for example, an Andrew Loomis anatomy book or figure drawing book. Yeah, that's a really good book, but for someone like me, I'm more of I don't know if you call it a visual learner, but I learn from seeing examples. So this book, for example, shows you ways of doing it, and it shows you ways of not doing it or common mistakes. I always really like that in books, and there isn't that much text in this. So a little bit of a contrast to the Andrew Loomis ones where they are very text heavy, a little bit too overwhelming for my simple mind at least. I think from memory it says somewhere in this book that it's like 90% images and 10% text, but surprisingly it doesn't seem to take away from the learning aspect despite there not being much text. You can see all sorts of examples of what I was talking about throughout. My only downside is that some of these images are a little bit small. That being said, they are quite good quality print, so it hasn't proven to be an issue. But it's a shame they're not bigger, but I guess the book itself would be very big. Some of these illustrations actually do remind me a little bit of the Loomis method, especially when he goes on to the head section here, which is next, and where he talks about things like aging characters. Again, it's cool that there's a mix of these 3D models, photos and drawings. It's very helpful. So as you saw at the beginning, I've got the hardback edition of these books. They are available in soft cover. I think it's a little bit cheaper for the soft cover, and there's also a cheaper version if you just want the digital, like an ebook version. All of these are available on the website, which I will put links to in the description box below. And also, before I forget actually, I'm going to try and get this video up before Christmas, because at the moment there is actually an up to 30% off Christmas sale. Now, as far as I am aware, this website only do sales at Christmas, so if you are interested in this book, I would definitely take advantage because that's quite a big saving. And if you are unsure of this book, even from the previews that I'm showing, what I would advise is actually checking out the website's ArtStation, or the Anatomy for Sculptors ArtStation account, I should say. Again, I'll put links in the description box below, but they actually show quite a lot of these examples. or some of them. They can't show all of them. There's absolutely tons of content in these books, but they show quite a lot of the examples on there. And I think you guys will be able to see from that just how helpful the information is. He really sort of focuses on breaking down these forms into a simple form and then slowly building it up to a more complex structure. There is about 225 pages almost in this book, so it's pretty thick. These are the bits I mentioned remind me a little bit of like the Andrew Loomis method. But I am showing quite a lot of content, so I'm going to start skipping through more pages at a time now. I think this book is really good though. I did notice there's quite a lot of pages with this photo reference. Again, it's a shame it's quite small, but they are usable, which is really cool because I always want photo reference in books. If you guys have watched my videos before, you know that I don't like to rely on looking at screens all day, so that's pretty cool. And I will say it's made up mainly of examples that are really helpful. It's a slightly different way of learning compared to most books, I would say. Quite an efficient way, quite a cool way. And this book is something you could definitely keep on hand and quite an easy to flick through, again with it being not text heavy. So if you're ever struggling for a certain body part, how it would look from certain angles and things like that, it's almost like having one of the 3D sculptures on hand. Really useful to have to study from. But yeah, I think it's quite an easy one to just pick up and learn from without being overwhelmed. I mean, that is one of the selling points of this one, is that it's sort of broken down into quite a simple way for people to learn from. So there's tons more to show, but I don't want to give everything away because it's not fair to the artist. And also, this video is getting quite long already. I've probably gone into too much information. So I will leave it at that now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video or found it useful if you were looking at this book. I will be doing some video previews on the other two books in the series soon as well, so definitely let me know in the comments below which one you're most excited for. So if you did enjoy this video, please do subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out a lot. Hit that thumbs up button and of course switch notifications for future content. Aside from that, leave me a comment below and let me know what other videos you guys want to see next. Thanks so much for watching everyone.